So my name is Jasmine Lomax. I am a meteorologist here in Baltimore at Fox 45, and really excited to be here with you all this morning. As a meteorologist, I focus on weather, a little bit different from climate. I once heard that weather is kind of like your mood, climate's your personality. So even though I don't directly deal with climate, as a meteorologist, as a Maryland native, I've seen the impacts of climate, and it's such an important issue to me. So really happy to be here this morning with you all, and really hope that you enjoy the program.
Hi everyone, my name is John Toner. I'm the head of impact strategy with Lemon Tree Productions. We specialize in impact storytelling and really building awareness and excitement around climate solutions through the power of video storytelling. One of the things I think is really important to keep in mind is that people want climate solutions. 67% of Americans believe in a better environment for the future, which means that there is a lot of appetite for what we all in this room can offer. And so we're really excited to have an incredible day of insights and networking and speakers to kick us off. And so today we wanted to start with an incredible conversation for our plenary. We have two speakers in Baltimore who are leaders in their own right and are building a movement to really put policy into action. We have Ava Richardson, Director of the Baltimore City of Sustainability, and Katie Lautar, Executive Director, Baltimore Green Space. Let's give them a round of applause and welcome.
So, is this working? Okay, cool. I'm Katie Lautar, the Executive Director of Baltimore Green Space, and my job today is to interview Ava. Ava, Baltimore has been building a strong foundation for climate action through its sustainability plan and resilience strategy. How do you define success for the city's next phase of climate and sustainability work?
Well, thank you so much for the question, Katie, and good morning, everyone. Again, my name is Ava Richardson. I serve as Baltimore City Sustainability Director, and I just want to thank all the organizers today, the hosts and the sponsors for making this event happen. To really answer that question, I think it really depends on everyone in this room, including, in addition to the more than 550,000 residents across the city of Baltimore, because we cannot define success without the people who are most impacted by climate change, by the weather extremes that we're going to be experiencing, or by the toxic exposures and the environmental exposures that we know so many environmental justice communities are dealing with. So we obviously, we measure our progress using certain pieces of data and metrics, whether or not that's extreme temperature and ambient air temperatures, but also looking at greenhouse gas emissions, looking at measures of air quality, how many trees can we plant in general, what does public transit ridership and user public transit use look like. So those are important metrics, but if we have not really done the work to better understand how those goals or how those numbers actually impact quality of life for you and for our most vulnerable populations across the city, then I don't think that we're actually getting at a level or a definition of success that reflects a future where we all are able to thrive, a future where we're addressing in particular the gaps in access to environmental services or the environmental injustices that certain communities are plagued with. So I would say that definition of success should be evolving as we learn more and as we hear from more voices and more people across the city, and as our understanding of what an equitable, thriving, resilient city also evolves.
Well, you just led straight into our next question. Baltimore's climate work has always emphasized equity. How is your office ensuring that sustainability projects directly benefit residents, particularly those in neighborhoods most affected by disinvestment and climate vulnerability?
Absolutely. I say we really do try to be intentional. And I think as the city overall has been a real leader when it comes to advancing racial equity, environmental justice, and really looking at our work through that lens. The Office of Equity and Civil Rights has a phenomenal equity program where each agency has to have some type of equity officer that's pursuing various bodies of work, and there are annual reports done to detail how agencies are advancing environmental justice or equity goals in general in their work. In terms of how we view that and how we pursue equity and environmental justice, again, I think when it comes to having the stated goal or the goals written on paper, that is important. We have equity implementation guidance in our sustainability plan that was released in 2019. We also have goals and guiding principles in our various climate plans, often all first leading with and anchored to equity and environmental justice. But having that on paper is not enough. We know that when it comes to pursuing these goals, they are more verbs than they are nouns or simply pretty words and pretty documents. And so I think we really have to approach these issues with a sense of humility, where we're listening to people and often hear sometimes that we're not doing enough or we haven't gotten it right. And that is the best type of feedback personally that I can hear when it comes to challenges as it relates to whether it's ensuring that as we are pursuing emissions reductions, that we're also being cognizant of air pollution and how communities are more generally impacted by poor air quality or indoor air quality. Or for that matter, when we talk about energy goals across the city, obviously we want to see decarbonization, we want to see the reduction of emissions, and we want to see the adoption of renewable energy. But more importantly, we want to see that low-income households don't have exorbitant energy bills. And we want to see that those energy burdens are addressed as we are decarbonizing and as we are making progress to our towards our climate goals. And so I think sometimes that means listening. That means acknowledging that we're not coming to the table with all the answers, and really ensuring that we are hearing from a more and more diverse set of voices as time goes on. I think so often in some of our engagement and some engagements in general, you can hear from many of the same characters, which is great because we love to have partners that we are able to build deep relationships with. But if we're not doing more work to reach out to the disability community, if we're not doing work to reach out to older adults, or for that matter, Black churches, so we're hearing varied perspectives in more and more voices and enhancing civic engagement as it relates to environmental justice as time goes on, then I think we can get to a point where we're missing a big part of the picture.
I have the luck of being kind of on the inside of understanding some of the strategies you guys have used to be sure that that community voices continue to shape this work. And I was wondering if you could share for us some of the strategies that make Baltimore's resilience plans different than other counties that are not doing the kind of engagement or need to learn different methodologies to do the engagement. And if you could tell us a little bit about how you're thinking about implementing these voices into large-scale investments in resilience and clean energy.
Yeah, absolutely. With each of our planning efforts, and one of the things that I always like to say is that meaningful, authentic engagement is one of the key and main focuses of our work in the Office of Sustainability. If we aren't able to engage with people, connect with folks, and support really proactive and targeted climate messaging that actually leads to positive climate behavior change, then again, I think where it's like where we could be missing something. But in the engagement for the drafting of many of our plans, we talk to thousands of residents across the city, both through, we hear from residents through surveys, through workshops, and then typically we will release plans publicly. We'll release live drafts of plans to solicit direct public input on those plans. And oftentimes, especially for our most recent climate action plan, we actually made a tremendous amount of changes based on the comments that we received that really helped to better be more specific about how we're achieving equity goals in each of those actions, and including a particular section on nature-based solutions. And so we try to ensure that we're always engaging in dialogue. I know there can be a lot of engagement that happens, but we try to be very intentional about how we put that, take that feedback and listen and really actually incorporate it into how we approach our work. We also are pretty fortunate to have a robust network of 20 community resiliency hubs across the city of Baltimore. These hubs often are community-based organizations, faith-based organizations, or churches that have really strong relationships with the surrounding communities that they serve. And in that capacity, we're able to work with them to provide supports and resources so they can serve as points of access during and after disaster events. Some of these hubs will serve as cooling centers on really hot days. Others had served as vaccine distribution sites, and some still serve as food distribution sites during different emergency times, and some of them are serving as food places where people can get food boxes. And as we know, with everything going on at the federal level and the threats to SNAP, that's really critical. And then we also have a commission on sustainability where we host monthly commission meetings, and through those meetings we're able to really do our due diligence and educate the public about where we are making progress on these plans and on these goals and where we are not. And we try to be really transparent about that and always have a call to action to residents or anyone engaging, and try to really hear from and listen to our commissioners who are able to make recommendations and guide us in various ways based on their expertise as well.
What is one action or mindset that you would encourage attendees, from policymakers to residents, to adopt to strengthen Baltimore's climate resilience?
All right, so I'm going to do a poll. How many people drove here today? Okay. And how many folks threw something away, some type of food away this morning as you were preparing, or even over the weekend looking over a little further back because it's pretty early in the morning? How many folks threw some type of food in the trash? Okay. How many folks recycled this weekend? Wonderful. So I think those are the types of actions that we need to be encouraging everyone to think about every single day. One of the things that I always like to say is to really reach our climate goals as a city, we're going to need to see millions of actions from hundreds of thousands of people across the city of Baltimore. And we all should feel empowered to know that our daily actions and habits can be contributing to these issues and challenges, but they can actually be driving the change that we want to see, whether or not that's choosing a car-free day out the week, or for that matter, we can all do things in our home when it comes to energy efficiency just by turning down the thermostat, or seeking more kind of like intentional investment when it comes to the different energy rebates or clean energy adoptions based on kind of what the capacity for any homeowner or renter to do that is. And then one of the lowest hanging fruits, and I like to say is definitely the gateway action to get you more involved in climate, is diverting your food scraps at home. That is one of the easiest things that we all do. We all eat, we all throw away food every single day. And we do host 5 different drop-off sites across the city of Baltimore. As well as there had been some additional kind of like pilot sites that had been launched, but there are opportunities to divert your food scraps, drop them off at specific locations that the city sponsors, and really reduce your waste that way. And sometimes that gets you more thinking about waste overall, consumer patterns, how to consider less packaging in your purchases, or for that matter, consider how we can all be advancing a more circular economy overall. So I can never say just one action, but I think, and that's the beauty of this work and the beauty of understanding how we can contribute, because there's so many different things that we can all be doing simultaneously, from thrifting to reuse. And I'm going to stop talking because you look like you're trying to.
Wait, you heard her. The very first thing she said was millions of people taking hundreds of actions. So take your actions, y'all. Despite federal impacts to the surge in climate-related funding and innovation, what upcoming projects or partnerships are you most excited about?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me thank Councilman Mark Conway for a bill that he put in to conduct a study and report on Resilience Authority. And so for those that may not be aware, these authorities are entities that can support various climate and fiscal financing for climate and resilience work. And I believe Charles County and Anne Arundel County and Annapolis, the city of Annapolis, they had created some of the state's first resilience authorities and have been pretty successful with those efforts. And so we are underway in that process right now, not just looking at the potential of what a resilience authority could mean for the city of Baltimore, but particularly looking at our climate governance. Because when we talk about the actions and we talk about how we're pursuing equity in those actions, it really depends on effective, concise, clear, and successful governing models that lead to those actions. And that entails having the proper investments, it entails having the proper staff in leadership capacity, as well as having the organizational structures and the authority to do the things that we know need to happen and need to get done. I'm really excited about that work and all the insights that'll come from there, and what recommendations we can make as it relates to improving climate governance moving forward. And we just have to give a hand to the godmother of environmental justice, Miss Vernice Miller Travis, who just came in. Sorry, that's. And I've just been told that time is up. So, but yeah, really looking forward to that. And in general, how we go about making progress, both through legislative strategies as well as through our engagement work on the more than 600 actions we have across several climate plans in the city.
Wait, I'm going to do a shameless plug. The Green Space Equity Program funding has opened at a state level, so you should look it up and apply for funding if you have a good project. And that's a wrap. Thank you.